Hi, I'm Dave Rumore, Chief Revenue Officer at Future Technologies. And joining me today is our Vice President of Business Development, Chris Cappiello, and Vice President of Sales, Chris York. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
So we're here to talk about smart supply chain. So what does that mean? Well, it depends. It's a totally customizable program that's designed to fit your specific needs. I'll explain some of the capabilities, we'll talk through a few use cases, and hopefully that'll give you a good basic understanding of what we're talking about. In its basic form, it's configuration, burn-in, and delivery. And that can include programming right down to IP addresses. If it's licensed microwave, we'll program per the FCC data sheets. We then load any option keys in the latest firmware. We test throughput and errors. If you have a more complete factory acceptance test, we can do that. Then it's all kitted up, labeled, and shipped to site, basically plug and play. So this has several benefits. Number one, no out-of-box failures. Two, less time on site, time is money. And three, less skilled labor required. So if you're hiring a local crew, if we're not doing the installations, they don't have to be experts on the particular device you're installing. If this isn't a one-off project, we have a web portal that we can customize to work with your internal processes. And then we provide closeout documentation so you have records that you can look back on in the future. And this isn't just limited to active network components, as we can integrate cabinets as well. We can do the racking and stacking, add power supplies, add and design power supplies and environmentals, and then add different components such as switches, routers, GPS, and other things. And then we can also manage the inventory, manage the spares, do the RMA management, and coordinate all that with the OEMs. So a critical component of smart supply chain is often a collaborative lab session. So this is a lab workshop where the customer network is replicated, and it gives them an opportunity to view their network more holistically. And this can highlight gaps or weaknesses in the design. And again, this isn't just limited to component configurations. As you can see in the picture in the lower right, we've also replicated mounting, cable management, grounding, and power plant design. And once the network is deployed, we can use this lab environment for training and troubleshooting purposes as well. So let's look at some case studies here. This is a service provider where not only did we do all the pre-configuration that we talked about, where they completely outsourced their warehouse operations to us. So that resulted in them saving lease space. They were able to shut down a warehouse, personnel cost savings associated with that warehouse. We actually housed their supervisor at our facility. We gave him an office and he worked out of our facility. So that resulted in more efficient processing of orders. In this case, we did customize a web portal for order implementation. And then, we had a bunch of technical capabilities that they just didn't have. So that resulted in virtually hundreds of thousands of dollars saved over the course of the last few years. So this is another service provider customer where they were deploying a large DWDM backbone with carrier Ethernet drops for customer sites that were feeding cell sites and enterprise customers. So a lot of coordination required here to be able to configure parameters like distance, wavelengths, interfaces, speeds, protocols, VLANs, etc. So we hosted a workshop with their engineers, and where often is the case, we uncovered issues that would have created problems during the deployment, but we were able to resolve in the lab. So Chris York, this is your customer. You want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, so we've done quite a few cabinet integration projects or projects that require cabinet integration. In this case, there were about 40 units where they were looking for us to do the full integration of the radio components, switches, power supplies, including battery backup, GPS. This was for a video surveillance network, so there were video controller components. These were cooled as well, so the environmentals were included. All of that was tested, kitted, labeled for particular locations. So as I mentioned, these were about 40 cabinets that were assembled in a secure location, based on another requirement that the customer had, and then we could ship them out individually on demand, which really saved them a lot of time, effort, and cost. It's something that they had tried to take on in the past internally, and resulted in a lot of challenges. So that we were able to really simplify their operation and make for a smooth project.
That's great. Not exactly a simple configuration. A lot of components and complexity went into this.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a very unique set of requirements, and so it was really a fully customized solution in this case.
Yeah. Great. So this project was for one of the larger digital oil fields in the Permian Basin. As this was new technology for the customer with new generation microwave and point-to-multipoint solutions, the lab sessions were really critical. We hosted their engineers and jointly came up with configuration, testing, and kitting parameters. And because of the complexity of the project, we gave them remote access to the lab so that they can continue to work with us to optimize those configurations after they left. And the feedback from them was that the hands-on experience prior to deploying this was really priceless. Chris Cap, your customer, you want to take this?
Sure. So, Dave, as you know, we connect up a lot of assets for our customers at the edge, and we do that with a variety of technologies, including cell modems, proprietary broadband CPEs, narrowband radios, etc. And a lot like York's customer, these things are oftentimes ending up in some sort of enclosure. So rather than our customers going to different vendors, trying to piece together all these different items, we bring the enclosures in-house based on their specs for Ethernet versus serial, what type of battery backup they need, etc. We're able to design and kit a custom enclosure for them and ship it to site, making their deployments cheaper, more efficient, and eliminating dead on arrivals. So for this specific use case, we had a utility client that was backhauling some of their AMI networks, and so we were able to put together a cellular connected box and kit it up and ship it to site. So we also have other use cases that involve drive kit tests. Also, we developed a custom box for a rail switch for remote connectivity for a new virtualized controller. So the use cases are endless, and at the end of the day, the customer's getting a kitted solution that's custom to meet their specifications.
Yeah, a very slick design and implementation that the customer really didn't have the time or the capability to do, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Great. Okay, well, in summary, smart supply chain management is all about reducing total cost of ownership. We do this day in and day out, so we've got a proven methodology that's both efficient and accurate and scales well. It reduces time on site. Time is money. The more time you're on site, the more you're subjected to conditions that are out of your control, like weather and access. We've talked about the impact on the type of field personnel required. We've invested significantly in lab and test equipment for this process. That's money you don't have to spend. And maybe you have the resources for 90% of your projects, but now there's one where you don't. You don't want to hire and train personnel and then have to fire them. Let us fill the gap. Maybe you don't do this every day. We do. Maybe you don't have the technical expertise. We do. Time is money, and we can accelerate your time to market and production. And again, remember, this is totally customizable to your needs. Let us know what you don't know how to do, what you don't want to do, or what you can't do cost effectively, and we can help. That's all for today. Until next time, stay safe, and thanks for joining us.